Hello, this is Lisette Lopez Rose here at PSI California chapter. I'm the peer support chair and the PSI liaison, and I'm going to show you how to navigate the postpartum.net website. So PSI's website on how you can show folks, whoever you're talking to when you're doing those pitches, those trainings out there, it's how to show them to get resources for pregnant, postpartum, and post-loss individuals versus how to get them on the section of the website for training purposes, for purposes, excuse me. And so that way you can show them the two different side of things on PSI because it can be challenging to navigate the website. So come along for this little tour. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So what we are going to start with first is just the main website, so postpartum.net. And I always tell folks it looks overwhelming at first, but I'm going to show you how to break it down, okay? So first off, there's a huge get help button right here. And so when there's pregnant, postpartum, and post-loss individuals that are looking for support, all they have to do is click that get help button, and then it's going to show them all the different ways that they can get help, right? That includes crisis information, the National Maternal Mental Health Hotline information, and then specifically PSI services. And that includes our provider directory, which is right here. They can connect with a local volunteer, a support volunteer in the US and Canada. Then there's international volunteers. And then there's also specialized volunteers. And I'll go over that in just a moment. And then, of course, our support groups. A lot of folks know about that. Our peer mentor program, which is another program within PSI that offers one-on-one mentorship, chat with an expert, and then information in Spanish. And then kind of one of our most underutilized resources, our Smart Patients Forum, which there's a little description here. Then we have closed Facebook groups on here, including for post-loss individuals. There's a new Facebook group. So I'm going to show you a little tour really quick. So someone's here, you have an individual that experienced a loss, right? And so we want to get them connected to some resources, right? So first thing I will always tell everybody is like, even though the name of this hotline is the National Maternal Mental Health Hotline, it's really inclusive. It's really for anyone who has experienced any of the disorders that PSI is specifically raising awareness around. So any mental health challenges in the perinatal period, as well as post-loss individuals. So any bereaved parents can contact the hotline. And then in terms of PSI services, let's say they need help finding a provider. So I will direct them here to the provider directory where they are going to verify, make sure we're human. And then it's going to take us to where they can put in their zip code. They can look specifically for a specialty. Let's say they were looking for an EMDR therapist. So they can type that in there. Now, I'm going to go back here to the other option. So if someone wants to be connected with a local coordinator, someone who's in their local area, maybe they're looking for a therapist, right? So yes, there's a provider directory, they can find it, but it can be challenging to navigate those different providers, right? When you're just not feeling right mentally, and plus you experience a loss and it's so overwhelming. So what we want to do is bring them here to get connected with a local coordinator. So if they're in the US and Canada, then they can just quickly get this link and all they have to do is fill out this form so that they can get connected with someone. If they're an international coordinator, they're going to click that button and then it's going to have some information about different countries with resources. And they're listed here, all here. And then we can also click on the link to get connected with resources in their area. If let's say there's a country that it's not listed on here. Um, so we'll do that. So now I'm just going to hit the back button. And then I want to talk about specialized coordinators here. So these are coordinators that have a range of situations, challenges, and roles that they can provide support on, right? So if you look at the list of specialized coordinators, you'll see adoptive parents, right? I'm just clicking here, Christian faith, disabled parents. And then if you go down, there's going to be pregnancy and infant loss resources and pregnancy termination for medical resources resources, excuse me. So if I click on the pregnancy and infant loss resources, because again, right now my case is someone who's specifically experiencing a pregnancy and infant loss, this will take them directly to the loss and grief page. And this is really important because that particular person might be triggered by all the images on the regular PSI website. So I want to make sure that I give you this little tour so that you can show them there is a specific loss and grief, right? So that they can avoid that. And then they can get connected different ways on here as well. So they can find the specific support groups. They can get connected with someone who's a peer mentor and then connect with the specialized coordinator who has experienced a pregnancy and infant loss, right? And then some other little tools here, right? So here they can find a provider. So it's important to be able to navigate the website under the person that you're trying to provide support services to. Make sure that you consider that, with a trauma informed, lens, and to make sure that we're providing the resources to them. But also, we don't want to trigger them, right? So that's one thing to consider. Now, let's say that you have an individual who is a single parent, right? And so you're like, okay, I want to find resources for the single parent. So this is going to be one of the things where, okay, we clicked on the big old get help button. And then there's different resources for this person, right? So of course, first and foremost, the emergency services, the maternal mental health hotline. They can find a provider. They can get connected with a support coordinator. They can also join our support group. So we do have, when I click on support groups, we do have a single parent support group. And so there's a lot of different support groups on here. I think we're at like 37 or 38 different group types. And then we offer at least 40 to 50 groups a week. And so you'll be able to find the single parent support group. So here, right here, single perinatal, so pregnancy and postpartum parent support to learn more. And it'll list when the date and time is of the support group. Okay. So whenever you're again navigating the website and showing folks, if you click on support groups, they can pretty much look at the list of all the different support groups. And then you want to drop down that little plus and minus sign. So you want to make sure it says the minus because that means we drop down the menu and then click on learn more and register. And that is where it's going to say the time, the date and time of the group. Right now, the support group flyer that we have kind of just shows all the different kinds of groups that PSI offers. So this is like a brief snapshot that they can see of all the different groups that we offer. And then they're kind of broken down in their own little sections. So parenting groups, Spanish groups, post-abortion groups, BIPOC groups, loss and grief support. And so they're all kind of in their own little categories. And so it's a snapshot of all those different groups that I was just mentioning here. If you scroll down at the end of this, that same download the support group flyer is here. So our groups kind of change at different times. And so we don't have like, this group is always going to be at this time. So that's where it's important for you to click on the learn more and register. And that'll be the most recent updated information of when that support group is going to be offered. Okay, so let me back up a little bit. So after support groups, I want to show you the peer mentor program. So this is going to be one-on-one mentorship, right? Dedicated support from a parent who's been in your shoes. And so there is a form where they want to join as a peer, right? So they are looking for a specific mentor. And so they are going to fill out this application. So it's a longer application. There's going to be some information that they're going to collect. But again, this is so worth it because these resources are free for the parents. They can use as many resources on this website. They can fill out as many forms as they'd like. So if they're filling out a support coordinator form, if they're filling out the peer mentor program form, that's okay. They can use all those resources. And then the next one I want to talk about is Chat with an Expert. So this is a weekly call for moms hosted on Wednesdays. And so it connects other moms as well as a licensed healthcare provider. So a licensed mental health professional is facilitating the group. And we like to say it's kind of like old school where you're calling on the phone. It's open to the first 15 callers and then they're talking to someone. And so there's a way to participate here. Now, in terms of inclusivity for resources, I want to mention that there's also a chat for dads. So this is offered on the first Tuesday of each month. Same thing, it's open to the first 15 dads that join, plus it's facilitated by a licensed mental health professional. And then there's the directions for how to participate. And then the schedule of when it's going to occur. So same thing for the moms one, when it's going to occur. And then I believe for the dads, it's hosted by just one particular facilitator. Yep. And so the moms one, there's a couple of different facilitators. So all of their information is here and it kind of says on the schedule who's doing what group. Okay, so now I want to back up again. Okay, so just to recap, we've gone to postpartum.net. We've clicked on Get Help. And this is how you show the resources for pregnant, postpartum, and post-loss individuals. All of the resources on this Get Help page are free. So, crisis resources, maternal mental health hotline. The PSI app has all of this stuff connected together, which is also helpful to kind of point out because some folks prefer apps, and that's okay. So they can access all of these resources on the PSI app store or on the little Connect by PSI app. So we help them find a provider. We help connect them to a local volunteer, whether that's US or international, or if they needed a specialized coordinator, they have a specific role or condition that they're looking for some support around, and so they can fill out that form. Then there's all the different support groups that we talked about. And then the peer mentor program, where they can fill out a form to connect one-on-one with someone who's going to match their experience somewhat, and they're going to be connected to for one-on-one peer support. Then we talked about the chat with an expert. That's another resource. And then a lot of our resources, we have the exact same thing, but in Spanish. So a lot of our Spanish, or excuse me, a lot of our support groups are also offered in Spanish. And there's different kinds of support groups for Spanish speakers as well. And so we can always click on that and, refer folks to that as well, if they're looking for those resources. And then I want to talk about smart patients. So this is, I kind of think of it like anonymous Facebook, right? So in Facebook, when you're in a Facebook group, your name is on there, right? You can post things anonymously, but your name is still attached to the group in terms of like you're a member of that group, you're following certain threads, or you've liked certain posts, that sort of thing. So it's attached to the name that you have your Facebook on. And so what Smart Patients is, it is a forum, an online forum where it is free and it's anonymous and your name is not released, right? So this is a really, really nice thing here. It's such an underutilized resource, which they even wrote down here. But it's nice because then it's just like a forum, but it's like a forum that they can go to, that anybody can go to for patients and families, that they are like, okay, this has been vetted, right? It's not just some weirdo forum where people are saying like weird stuff or whatever. It's specifically for the postpartum community. And so it's been vetted, and there's people that are on here moderating that work at PSI. Okay, now I'm going to back up again. So the Facebook group, right? So we have groups for moms, groups for dads. There's a Spanish group. Then there's one for post-loss individuals. And so we highly encourage all those resources. Okay. And then there's other resources down here that I want to make you aware of. So let's say that you are at the page and immediately your loss person is triggered because of this image. And I totally understand from the bottom of my heart. And so what we're going to want to do is, okay, let's go immediately to this Get Help button, scroll all the way down. And this is the specific pages for different conditions, roles, or families, right? So we want to click on the loss and grief in pregnancy and postpartum, and that'll avoid a lot of the imagery that you're going to see on PSI's website, because we do serve pregnant and postpartum folks. we want to be mindful, and this is the website that we've created that is not going to show those triggering images. And so what I'll do is, okay, so now this is going to be where they can find those resources, right? So our PSI helpline, and that is one thing that I did not go over, because the helpline is really going to be super helpful if they like look at it and they're like, I'm overwhelmed. There's all these programs and resources and services, and I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to pick. There's too much going on. And that's where I like to tie in and talk about the PSI helpline, where that is a warm line, right? You call or text and leave a message, and then someone gets back to you within 24 hours. And so you can call, you can text, you can fill out a form, and you can say, like, I'm struggling, I need some help. I'm trying to find some support, what's going to be best for me, right? And then you're going to be talking to someone, either on the phone or texting with them, and they'll be able to provide you some guidance, right? So let's say that you're talking to someone, you're like, I have a 2-month old, I'm struggling, I'm having a hard time, I feel isolated, I feel alone, like I have no family near me, right? So they're going to offer some support, and validation that, what you're experiencing is something that all new parents experience, or parents with little ones experience, right? And so then they might guide them to the support groups or the peer mentor program, because maybe the person will say, like, I don't do good in groups of people, so like seeing the support groups was like overwhelming for me. And they're like, okay, no problem. And so then that's where those wonderful helpline volunteers are going to guide them to something that might fit their personality better. So if they're saying a group setting's too overwhelming, too much, then maybe the peer mentor program is going to be a good resource, or maybe a coordinator, one person in their area who can talk to them and chat with them. Or maybe they're going to help them find a provider, or they're going to say, oh, you know what? Let's get you to the Facebook groups or the smart patients groups or something like that, right? And so I wanted to go back and, excuse me, another resource that I like giving is the one for dads, right? So if I encounter someone, or I'm giving a talk or a training to someone that serves fathers, I want to make sure that I go over the fathers page here. So it was postpartum.net, get help, scroll all the way down, and then help for dads. And so this is going to be where it has some information about the overview of perinatal mental health disorders. And then again, all the different resources that dads. So you can absolutely bet that there are peer mentor dads that can help support any dad that is going through any mental health challenges or concerns during the perinatal period. So that is something I like to point out. So I'm going to go back to just the main Get Help page. And so I think it's important to also acknowledge that there is information here about perinatal mental health disorders, right? So part of PSI's, vision statement is that everyone is going to know about these disorders so that they can be educated and there can be an awareness out there, right? That's what we're doing, as trying to train people out there about PSI and try to spread the word about PSI's mission and vision statement and all the resources that we offer. And so this is where I will say, like, this is where we can direct parents, post-loss individuals, to also find out some information about the disorders, the symptoms, the treatments, and they're all listed here. Then there's also, sometimes there's a little helpful tool guide. I think we've saw it already on other pages, but I'm just going to scroll here and see if it's on here. I'm going to go back and scroll down. So I know I saw it for the, go back to the loss and grief, scroll down and click on the discussion tool. And then this is a discussion tool for anyone, right? So there's the statistics of what they can do. And then here's a little tool that you can take to your doctor's office to talk about that you're experiencing some of these symptoms. And you can take it like, these are my risk factors. These are the symptoms I'm feeling. So I want you to know that I am experiencing something, right? So this is the perinatal mental health discussion tool. This is the tool for parents experiencing loss specifically, right? So that's going to be on the second page for them. And so just want to make sure that I mention that. And then we talked about getting more information about the different disorders. So I'm going to go back to that, learn more. And so this is super helpful to kind of just have the different symptoms, different names of the disorders, and then just some helpful resources. Sometimes there's helpful articles and treatment options, risk factors, and all of that. So the helpful resources are pretty much going to be everything that we just overviewed, right? But if you click on PSI services, it's going to bring us back to this main page. So this is how I want you to be able to navigate the website for when you're going over PSI, when you're training people out there, letting them know about PSI. And then this is how to navigate the website for the person that is experiencing, pregnancy, postpartum, or post-loss. If they are looking for resources, this is how we get them to our resources. Now, one thing I want to mention is I'm going to scroll back down here is if we have, I don't think it's listed on here, but if you have someone who is hard of hearing or deaf, excuse me, we do have it here. This is the specific website for those parents on here. So it's important to direct them to that. The other one is postpartum psychosis, right? So this is an emergency. And so I want to make sure that we're mindful of what those crisis resources are for anyone that's experiencing a true crisis. It's not going to be PSI. It's not going to be the National Maternal Mental Health Hotline. The true crisis resources are going to be either the crisis text line or the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, or the emergency room, right? And then I also wanted to quickly go over some information about the professional. So everything that I just navigated can actually be navigated from this drop-down menu of Get Help, right? And so this kind of beautifully sums up everything that I've gone over, right? So emergency crisis, perinatal mental health, the signs, symptoms, resources, and then how to find support. So all the support that I just showed, the PSI helpline, the provider directory, on local support, excuse me, online support groups, chat with a mentor, peer mentor programs, specialized support resources. And then another one I wanted to go over is the postpartum planning class. And so this is for individuals, for whoever is growing their family, if they're in the second and third trimester, all expecting parents, so moms, birthing people, non-gestational parents, partners, couples, single parents, they're all welcome to join this postpartum planning class. And this is for specifically mental health and emotional well-being. And so this is where we go over a lot of those disorders, symptoms to look out for, and just things, how to take care of your mental health and your emotional well-being when you are postpartum. And so I mentioned again, all of those resources are offered in Spanish. And so if you click on that, that'll be the specific Spanish page. Now, I want to navigate the site for a professional. And so I will go over that here in just a moment. Okay, so one thing I want to go over for professionals. So let's say you have some therapists, and one of the things that I want to make sure, so not only those emergency resources, but also intensive treatment in the US. So in California specifically, since we are in California, it's important for us to be aware that there is an inpatient perinatal psychiatry program in the US that's located in California in Mountain View. So that is in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's called El Camino. And they have an inpatient psychiatric care for women there, a specialty. And then there are some outpatient intensive patient or partial hospitalization perinatal psychiatry programs in the US that include some in California, right? So it's important for us to know about these different resources here. So there's about 6 different intensive outpatient partial hospitalization programs, including El Camino Hospital here. But it looks like there's a lot of ones that are down here, Newport, Pasadena, San Diego, LA. And so there's obviously not going to be any hospitals that are closed for folks that are more in like the rural areas of California. So that's where we want to make sure that we are giving them like these are the you'd have to go to the nearest one, right? The nearest one. And some of them it might just be hard to get to, but they exist in California. And so I just want to make sure that we go over that. So that is what I would go over when I'm showing professionals. Now, I want to show you the professional side of things, right? So, not only the intensive treatment, there's also medication resources. So, if you're ever talking to providers, let's say you're talking to obstetric and gynecology providers, this is where we want to click on those medication resources and be like, hey, if you ever have a question about prescribing medication for a pregnant or postpartum individual, right? There is a psychiatric consult line so that you can talk to someone that is a medical professional, specifically a reproductive psychiatrist that is trained in perinatal mental health and all the things about medication. And so you can fill out this form and request a consult if you're not sure about prescribing medication to your particular patient. And again, it's no cost. All of these services are free, right? Then we also offer other resources. Mother to Baby is a great resource if they have questions about medication. The Massachusetts General Hospital Women's Mental Health has lots of information on there as well. And so that is medication resources for professionals. And then there's some other information here, facts and stuff like that, that they could look at in terms of resources. But now I want to go to the professional side of things. And so PSI membership, right? That's the first one that I'm going to tell them is like, are you already a PSI member? If not, then let me tell you about it, right? And so there's benefits to becoming a member, and all of those benefits are listed here. But we really love the fact that if you become a PSI member, you are strengthening your community. And you have the opportunity to be part of like consultation groups. You get discounts on webinars and trainings and all that good stuff. And so you want to be able to see that. And so if this is really important, if you're a parent seeking help, you do not need to become a PSI member. This is specifically for professionals who want to join. You as a parent, you can absolutely join PSI membership, but that is not what's required in order to access the support resources and services that we offer. Okay, so PSI membership for professionals, that's one thing. Our annual conference, we can talk about every year. We have a PSI conference where they are giving information in the field of perinatal mental health. So there's research being presented, information that's being presented that's super, super helpful. And the location changes throughout every year, it changes to a different location. And so trainings and webinars, this is a huge one that I like to show folks that are on the professional side of things. And so you could either kind of scroll over the professionals and then click training and webinar, or you can just click on training and it'll bring up all of this information. But the one that I like to give is the perinatal, here it is, free webinar. So this is what I like to show individuals like, okay, maybe you're not ready to join PSI membership, and that's okay. You can at least get kind of like a little bit of a taste, a little amuse-bouche of the perinatal mental health 101. And this is a free 90-minute complimentary webinar that they can join. And so if I click on it, they can see kind of like the upcoming dates that are coming on. And they're pretty much online as far as I remember, but you'll see the dates here. So, like, for example, I'm making this video in March of 2025, and there's going to be one in June, September, and December. And so, the person that you're talking to, the professional or the organization that you're talking to, there's a chance that there's going to be a webinar coming up that they can register for free. So, they can get just kind of a little bit of taste of the stuff not excuse me, not the stuff, but all of the wonderful information that PSI gives out and is training about and trying to make sure that the world is aware and knows how to treat perinatal mental health concerns and challenges for pregnant, postpartum, and post-loss individuals. All right, so That's the training side of things. Then there's the certification thing. And if I have your attention still, this is what I like to say. If I have your attention still, I want you to know that you can become certified in perinatal mental health. And there's two different things that you need to do to get to there. And so you'll there's different tracks, I guess they call it. And so let's see. So these are all the requirements on there, and pretty much the tracks that I was talking about here. So there's the mental health, psychopharmacology, so like prescribers, and then affiliated professionals. And so those are the three different groups that the certification is available, right? Nurses would be kind of included into the psychopharmacology, if they are like PAs or nurse practitioners, they would be in that section. And then mental health. So like if you're a social worker, if you're a therapist, like working in the mental health field, that is going to be your track. And then affiliated professionals are like our nurses, our doulas, our peer supporters, even dietitians, community health workers. There's all of those folks that can be, all of those affiliated professions that can be also certified in perinatal mental health. Okay, so then I talked about for medical providers, the or prescribers, they can have the free consult line about medication, and then the provider directory. So again, if you work with pregnant, postpartum, post-loss individuals, and you take our perinatal mental health 101 training, and then you're like, ooh, I want to join as a PSI member, and then now you take some additional trainings with us, then the way to get yourself listed on the provider directory, this is how you would do that. And so if you wanted to be listed, create a listing here, right? If you want, you can sign up here. And then we also have office hours. If you're like, I'm not sure if I should put myself on there, I'm not really sure, like, would this be applicable? You can come to the office hour and talk to the person who does the directory and get information and tips about sharing or putting your listing and how to share it and all that good stuff. Now I'm going to go back. And then after all of that, this is in Spanish, so this would be for those folks that you're talking to, that may want to have resources in Spanish, so you can certainly direct them here. And then I also like to say getting involved. So those of you that are watching this recording, you're part of the chapter program. So I want you to know that this is where you would go. So getting involved. So they're like, if at some point they're like, I want to do kind of the stuff that you did, right? Which is going to the train the trainer cohort training session that we did, and then being part of the PSI chapter volunteer to where you're helping to train other folks about perinatal mental health. And so this is where they would learn more information. They can always volunteer. There's different ways that they can volunteer. And so that's what that section of the website is. And then if they ever have questions about kind of like, what do you guys do? What is your mission, your vision statement? That's what the about section is for. And so that's where, whoops, that's where I would scroll on over to the mission and vision. And a lot of times I don't like to bore them with all of the little details. And so for me, that's where, I may pull certain words from the vision and mission statement. So you've heard me saying about supporting pregnant, postpartum, and post-loss individuals. That's kind of like my shortened version of what I see here on the vision and mission statement. And then if they ever want to know like who's the staff, who's the board of directors, all that good stuff they can find here. And then I also want to click on legal justice because this is another program that PSI offers that some folks may benefit from. So this is a program that was developed to provide education and awareness for those mothers that are in the criminal justice system as a result of their perinatal mental health challenge or concern, or their disorder. And so the goal is to provide information. And so this is what what they do, and then this is the information for you could click on a button if you need to contact, if you're the parent trying to get some support, or if you're a mental health professional, or if you're a legal professional trying to get some information. So it's really important to note that this PSI justice, legal justice, excuse me, does not provide legal services or monetary support. What we do is provide support and information to families and resources if they're involved with the court systems as a result of their perinatal mental illness. And so that's about it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions about the overview of the website. And I'm always open to feedback too. So if you see something that you're like, ooh, this wasn't included in the video, let me know. I'm going to drop my email in the chat really quick. And I'm happy to answer any questions or add anything to these videos. Thanks for watching, and thank you for training out there.